Please take a seat if you don't have one yet. Get comfortable, grab some food. My name is Katie Duval. I'm the Executive Director at Medfield TV and the President of Mass Access. Thank you all so much for coming today. It only took us 4 months to get here, but we are finally here. And I know it was a little bit of a trek for a lot of us today, but at least it's a nice sunny day. It's actually hot, which is a nice change of pace. Yeah, thank you. And I also want to say thank you to my entire board of directors for everything that they've been doing to organize this event and all the events that we've had this year, as well as all of our legislative efforts. So our clerk and governance and membership chair, Rob Chapman, our treasurer, Nancy Albertson, our legislative chair, David Gauthier, our events chair, Karen Henderson, who, you're amazing. Thank you for putting all this together today. Jonathan Boshin, Charlie Smith, Matt Landry, and our returning board member, Liz Harkins. So let's give all of them a round of applause. And again, a special thanks to Karen Henderson and David Gauthier for everything they did to get this event going today, and the events committee and legislative committee as well. I also want to thank our lobbyist, Lindsay Tohill, who's right over there. Thank you so much for everything you do. And then our supporting legislators, Rep. Joan Meschino, Rep. Margaret Scarsdale, there she is, and then Senator Jason Lewis as well. So I've been told that I am an infectiously optimistic person. And while that might be true, I'd be lying if I said it was easy right now. Many of you heard the news that David shared the other day about our bill. So, you know, it's a little hard to be optimistic right now. I'm human too. And I could go on and on about all the reasons that we could stand to lose the great things that we're offering to our communities, and lose if an act to modernize community funding for community media programming doesn't pass. I'm sure it's a long list for a lot of us, and it's easy to create that list and let pessimism take over. So instead, today I'm going to challenge all of you to reframe this narrative, and let's think about, if this bill does pass, what could we stand to gain? I know it's not just level funding and status quo work. Many of us have been already doing this and meeting these challenges presented to us through years of decreasing funding and a worldwide pandemic. And we've kept that status quo. We've raised the bar of what is possible for centers such as ours to provide to their communities. So let's imagine for a second what level funding could mean for us. We could start making that mental list or painting that mental picture of what that means for our stations. And think about what's starting to blossom there. What can you create? What can you bring? So for me, I see this. I'm the executive director at Medfield TV, and I see Medfield TV as a true community media center, or community center, I should say. It's a safe third space for residents to express their creativity through digital media. It's a hub for education and lifelong learning, and it's an accessible space for people of all abilities to learn and grow. So maybe your mental painting is more specific. Do you see a specific person or specific people or specific programs that come to mind that would really benefit from this funding? And if it's not coming to you right now, that's okay. Go take a walk out to the park later today. Think about it on your ride home or on the T, and ruminate on this this afternoon. Think of what possibilities could there be for your center. This should be your motivation, not the reasons what you would lose, but what you could gain. What encourages you to call your legislators and ask for support? What sparks the creativity to launch a social media campaign, sharing your station's value? What inspires you to talk to your local administration in your town and share your value? What inspires you to table at a town event or even organize an event of your own? It's easy to think about what would be lost, but that's just not helpful. So think of what can be gained, what's to come. Become that infectiously optimistic person at your center. Your community is counting on you, okay? So bring that positivity into today. We have a lot to talk about during our legislative briefing. I don't see David here yet. I would like to turn it over to him, but maybe for now I can turn it over to our legislators. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for making the trip up here, and enjoy the presentation today.
Well, good morning. So first, on behalf of myself and my colleague, Representative Scarsdale, and our colleague, Senator Lewis, let me just say welcome to the State House for those of you who are from the Community Access Centers. It's a beautiful building. As you're going around and meeting everyone, don't forget to look around. It is an amazing space, and I hope, to your point, you are inspired by being here in the People's House doing the advocacy work. What Rep. Scarsdale and I thought we might do is talk a little bit about the why, although thank you so much, Katie, you already did a great job inspiring, but we thought we'd talk a little bit about the why. Then for the aides in the room, give you, and the legislators in the room, give a little bit of a summary, a little bit of a history, and talk about what our challenge, but what our opportunity is right now. And then, of course, we'll talk a little bit about action steps. So just really quickly, who in here is a legislative aide? Raise a hand. Yay, no, I meant you all. Raise your hands. I want to know interns, all of it. Okay, thank you. I just want to say thank you for coming. Thank you. It's great that your bosses are showing, that your legislators are showing interest in this bill. We have a tremendous number of co-sponsorships, both when we filed the bill and then also when we put it forward in the part of the budget. And then who are the community media centers? Thank you for all coming fighting the traffic and coming in. We really appreciate that as well. And then I do just want to give I see Rep. Owens, fantastic advocate for his, and has invited me down there, and I've actually presented to Watertown. Rep. Lisa Fields stopped by, and I don't know if Rep. Hadley Luddy is still here, but she also swung through. There's a lot of things going on in the State House today. So we really appreciate when legislators make time to come here too. The stakes are high, so I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Representative Scarsdale, just to talk a little bit about why we're here and what our opportunity is. Take it away.
Thank you so much. I just want to echo for taking the time to come here. It is really amazing and empowering and energizing to look around the room and see so many different parts of our society represented, and I think it just shows the importance of this bill. I want to take you on a little ride. It's a quick ride, but it is a ride. So about 250 years ago, our country realized some very important truths, right? And it's how we got the First Amendment and freedom of the press and freedom of information. And that worked really well for a long time. And, you know, at some point, probably every town in the country had newspapers. And it was a great way to keep people connected and keep them informed. And a lot of things have changed since then, right? We kind of gravitated towards radio, and then we gravitated towards television, and that became a way that we would get to know our world and understand our place in it and challenges and opportunities. And then more recently, a very magical thing started to happen, that the rise of cable access came about, and our PEG stations, and it was a more intimate way, a return to like towns having the opportunity to be informed and to be engaged and to stay connected while all these changes were going on. And it's not just about like the stations that are on, it's the importance of the information behind the programs that are on these stations. It's how, in my towns, we have something called Candidates Night, where for every election cycle, local election cycle, our cable access stations do interviews with all the candidates, so you can know who's going to be representing you or wants to represent you on a select board or a school committee or a planning board or a board of health. Like, very foundational, really important committees and commissions that decide how your everyday life is going to look. PEG stations brought that into your living room and made that a reality. And it's not just about that. You can take cooking classes, you can take Zumba classes, you know, you can learn technological skills. There is no thing that's not available on PEG access stations. And it really helps with access, right? I'm moving into the older side of the constituency. I don't like driving at night. I don't have to worry about that when I can turn on my television and watch what's happening in my community through the hard work of professionals who put on these shows and make sure they're bringing that to people every day and every night. And while this PEG access was increasing, you know, not unsurprisingly or maybe surprisingly, newspapers have been on the decline. They've either been consolidated, bought out by larger newspapers, or they've disappeared altogether, which makes PEG access even more important because in my community, I serve 6 towns. We have 2 local newspapers, and the rest are, you know, big city owned, and, you know, maybe we get a mention here or there, but you can't even find out information in newspapers anymore. And so PEG is even more critical. So when I went back to school, I took a lot of sociology classes. I loved sociology. And one of the interesting concepts to me was something called chondriatic waves. And those are huge cycles of change that happen in a society. And some things happen fast in your life, right? Your wife comes home and says, I got a new job, and you realize you got to pack up the kids and you're moving to Seattle. That's a flip of your life in one conversation. But a lot of things happen over time, and there's a steady drip, drip, drip of something, and you don't even notice change is happening until all of a sudden you're on a precipice. And when you're on that precipice, there's a decision, right? Oh, wow, I didn't see all that coming, but here we are now. We need to make a change. We have to fix this. Or you don't realize it in time and you go off that cliff, and there's usually no coming back from that. And all of that is to say that we are really on a cliff right now. If you came to any of the hearings this session, last session, you can hear testimony from people in communities saying, we're cutting back staff, we're down to 2, we've reduced programming, now we're gone altogether. They're gone, they're disappearing all across our landscape. And these 2 bills that Rep. Meschino and I are working on, the House version and the Senate version, those are an answer to that precipice. They are critically important bills that offer a lifeline to these stations that bring so much into our living room and into our lives. And I hope when you hear this is why we need it, I hope when you hear this is the how we can do it, that you will be 100% on board, because nothing ever changes without action from the ground level. Whether you work at a PEG access station, you love them, you see the need in your community, please be a part of the advocacy that we are asking for to make the change that we all really desperately need. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Margaret. I really appreciate the way that Rep. Scarsdale always talks about this. And now a few details. Obviously the stations know this, but for the aides and the interns and the reps in the room, a little bit of the bill summary. Most simply stated, this bill is going to assess a fee, the same consistent fee that we have always traditionally done on cable providers, now onto the new technology that everyone is eager and excited for. It's going to assess the same up to 5% fee. And the point is to create a stable fundraising stream. Now, I want to start with that first and foremost because, oh, Musical interlude. And the reason I start there is because what we're doing, for those who are aides and legislators in the room, we are updating. We are making a choice to update an existing cable franchise law that has worked tremendously successfully. And in fact, if you look at the statistics, Massachusetts enjoys a rich ecosystem of community media centers. And it's a testament to how many people have both come into the State House and testified, sent in testimony, both written and really cool videos, and who continue to do this work. And as Margaret said, when you want to call for that change, you have to do it through the grassroots and call for what you want from the bottom up and give us the support that we need as legislators to have those conversations with leadership, to talk about why this is timely, why it is relevant, and why it is actually very well vetted at this point. A little history. We filed this bill, David Gauthier, our fearless leader, has arrived, fought the traffic to come in, thank you, sir. Threw me up against a wall, or actually it was on Zoom, it was video, but he threw me against a wall and he started talking very passionately about what the challenges were in a moment in the pandemic when everybody was calling for services to be done virtually through Zoom and through all of your platforms. And we were shifting over. It's the precipice that Margaret was talking about. It was this moment where we were shifting over. And it was at a time when that confluence of seeing the revenues had been shrinking. And now we're calling for more demand. And we started having a conversation about this, and since I have been a selectman for a long time, I understood exactly what the challenges were. But more to the point, I understood what the value was, as Margaret so eloquently said. And so we started talking about how do we make this change, how do we call from the grassroots, and how do we elevate up. And we made a choice to update the existing franchise law because it has been successful. We also made that choice because it is, and this is for the staff in the room and the legislators, it is a fee. I am being precise with my language. It is a fee, not a tax, because taxes go into the general fund. But fees, when you can create a nexus of opportunity, and that's the theory of change, is that in the same way that the cable franchise law services have always accessed the communities, this is how all of our streaming services also access through the public rights of way. They should pay into it just as the others have, and whatever cool, interesting technology follows this, right? This is a law that's addressing an issue now, but looking to the future and should be malleable to be able to capture whatever cool, interesting things comes next. And that's the theory of change, and it's important because it's money, it is still money, but we don't need any new taxes, but we do need fees that have a nexus with the important public good, as Margaret described. I will also say that the landscape here, I think, has gone above and beyond, and the innovations of what you're doing as community media centers. We don't even talk about you as PEG access channels anymore. We talk about you, as to your point, Katie, as community centers. And I think that that's the other piece that just needs to be understood by legislators, is that we're not just talking about, a department in town hall that flips the switch when the select board meetings are on. There's so much more that's going out there, and I think that's your opportunity, training the next generation. I love Harbor Media trains all their content providers, as well as new directors and then all the technical supports and everything, and I just use them as one example because they're from my district. Understand that this has been well vetted. We filed it in '92, we had the support of the House. It was still a dialogue with the Senate, and so the bill went to study. But we refiled it again the following term, and that was where we were able to have finished and continue that dialogue with the Senate chair. And we were able to work out compromise language, which is the bill that Margaret and I filed this term. I should give a really quick shout out to Rep. David Vieira, because whatever community media center was his, went to him and said that our prior partner, Rep. Morituri, was not returning to the legislature, and so he wanted to make whoever that person was wanted to make sure. That is brilliant. They went in. So there's actually the original language got filed as House 106 as well, and that is a testament to all of you for staying in touch and having those relationships with your legislators, because it wasn't even a question. He was like, "It's important to you, done." So just to show that your advocacy is working, in fact, and that language is still on the table. I do also want to just acknowledge very quickly, because this is a question that you will get asked by legislators, who has concerns about this bill? So obviously, the cable providers, the streaming services, those folks, they do not want to pay this, to have this fee assigned to them. It's a cost of doing business. How they choose to incorporate that or pass that fee on, let's just be clear, most of these companies don't internalize that. They, in fact, pass it on. So we will be paying a little bit more, but just remember, we've been paying this for over 20 years through the original cable, so, and it's the same 5% negotiated rate. And so everybody who moves over from cable to streaming services will pay the same fee that they've always been paying. So it really is a net neutral. And then the other piece that you need to tell your bosses is that we also went to DOR and we asked them, what do you think, could you do a little research for us on what the projected revenues would be? And in fact, they said yes, they did the research, and they came out with a number, an initial projection of between $55 and $60 million, which lo and behold, happened to reflect the number of the lost revenues. That's statewide. I will just say that is statewide. One of the other pieces of this bill is that, and you can reassure your municipalities of this, is that we're not asking people to negotiate ongoing all of these cable franchise agreements. If you've ever been a selectman, you know that that is a chore. It's never pretty and it's a slog. But what we've done is we've said, if you are in this, in the state, and you're reaching our customers, and you can declare revenues over $250,000, then you should pay the fee at the state level into the same fund that comes to all of the municipalities per capita. And that's our way of saying that everybody should share in the wealth. And then another thing I will just say is that it is actually modest. It's a modest amount of money, but it is a stable source of revenues. And for those of us who have worked on the municipal level, that is probably the biggest challenge you have, is having stable revenue. Because otherwise you're competing with everybody else, and there's a lot of good stuff happening, a lot of amazing work happening on the municipal level. So challenges. Here's our challenge. It is May, and we are coming into the end of our formal session, which wraps up on July 31st. And so now, I think we've gotten our favorable reports out of the House and the Senate committee, the joint committee. But now our challenge is we're competing with all of the other amazing work that my colleagues have filed bills on. And it is imperative, it is absolutely imperative. You've gotten it this far, you have to keep going to keep this bill in the front of everyone's mind. You need to keep it front and center. And so what you're really asking for here is to get this across the finish line and to bring it to either the House or the Senate, well, both. You need to both, it doesn't matter which one goes first, for a vote, and to actually get us across the finish line this year. And so what we're going to be doing is asking all of the legislators to share a note with their respective leadership on the House and the Senate, both on the House and the Senate side, to tell them that you think this is important, that you value it, and that you want to see this brought forward for a vote this term. And we're on a deadline, July 31st. I will just say that in closing, this is one of my favorite bills. because it is at the core of democracy. And I loved Margaret. I love when you talk about this. That's why she always goes first, because she's so uplifting. Really, that you started with Revolution 250. And I have no doubts that all of you are already planning and have been doing a tremendous amount of programming around the birthplace of our democracy. And that is what we are talking about in essence. And I actually was a little grumpy about the fact that it's taking this long because, I'm eager to get it across the finish line. But I think that to have this bill pass in the year that we celebrate Revolution 250, I think is actually a lovely nod, not only to democracy, to transparency, to accountability, really, I just came from town meeting last night, right? This is it, this is the core of it. And in the State House, right? Every committee hearing is broadcast, every session is broadcast. It's the core of it. So I just want to end on that note to say that I think that's a lovely symbol, a lovely synergy. And for you that are the community media centers, go get them. And for you that are the aides and the legislators in the room, thank you for your interest, your eagerness, and your support, because they're coming. So with that, I'd like to bring up David Gauthier. No, come here. Come to me. Round of applause, people. Round of applause. No. This is the guy who made the case, who brought it to our attention, who's seen it through, and who has brought every single one of us along with him. David, kick us off. Kick us off.
I never get a round of applause at home. So thank you to everybody. I can't take credit for all of this. I always have to mention that there is a board behind all of this. This is not me doing this. We have a tremendous board that is doing tremendous work, and I've told this story before, and I will hopefully tell it again once it gets past the finish line. When Melinda Garfield pitched this idea, I told her to her face that she was crazy, and we would never get that money. But she convinced me, and I've been on board ever since. So I cannot take credit for the genesis of all of this. So I do appreciate you all being here and all taking part in this. A couple of things I wanted to bring up. Number one, it is not the norm that you have legislators that are so knowledgeable and so engaged with your issue. So we really do need to thank Rep. Scarsdale and Rep. Meschino. Senator Lewis couldn't be here today. I just spoke to him the other night. He was bummed that he couldn't be here, but he has other things to do. The staffs of these representatives and senators that work so hard and engage with us all the time, they really do deserve.
Yes.
The point is, you are being heard up here, okay? And that's important to note. As Rep. Meschino mentioned, you do have to keep that up. The reps here can tell you, and any rep in the room or any senator in the room can tell you, they're hearing from dozens of people a day, right? Oh, what about my bill, Rep. Meschino? What about my bill, Rep. Scarsdale? There are a lot of issues that these folks have to deal with on a daily basis, and you really do have to keep it at the top of the pile. It seems crazy, right? Like, I just called that office 2 weeks ago to ask about that. Well, in those 2 weeks, so many things have happened, right? So you need to call again and just get it back up to the top of the pile. It is so, so important, right? Because our issues aren't going away, right? You make one phone call and that's it. Okay, good, we're all set, right? It doesn't work that way. You have to continually engage. And I didn't plan this, obviously, but all of you community media folks in the room know that we are this, right? The vast majority of the population of Massachusetts and beyond, when they think about PEG, it's this, right?
Right.
You know what you do. You know that you've modernized. You know you're not Wayne's World and all of that nonsense, right? But most people don't. Let's be honest. So if you are not advocating for yourself, no one is going to do it for you. You have to be out there. You have to be making these phone calls. Show up at office hours. Talk to your legislators. Form a relationship with them. This process is really, really complicated. You can ask Harrison. Yesterday we were on a call and I was asking a million questions because the rules have changed. And you think you have a grip on it and the rules change. I am no expert here. I am learning on the fly. This is not my area of expertise. However, I know enough to tell you guys what to do, right? Or ask you guys to, let's all get together and do this. I mean, that's at the core of what we do, right? Getting people together for a common cause. So you have to continue to do that. Don't get hung up on, well, that budget amendment didn't pass, so now we're sunk, right? Or there are other opportunities. I'm learning that there is always a way. There's always an avenue, right? So there are several different ways, and it's always hurry up and wait, right? Okay, you've got to make these calls. We've got to get co-sponsors in the next 5 days or whatever, and then you sit and wait.
That's right.
That doesn't mean nothing's happening, right? There's a lot of work that's going on up here, and people are deliberating and figuring out what's the best for everybody, not just us. And I think we get hung up on our own little world sometimes, and I am really stressed out, right? I've already worked 50 hours this week, and it's only Thursday morning, and I've still got a town meeting tonight, and somebody just called in sick, and I'm ready to lose my marbles, right? It's easy to do that. We're all in that same boat. But sometimes you've got to remember that there are a lot of issues. And quite frankly, there are a lot of issues that are more important than PEG. And I am the #1 proponent for PEG, but that's, I think, really at the core of the challenge, right? And that's why sometimes it just doesn't rise to the top of that priority list. If you're stacking PEG against healthcare, you're not gonna win, right? So we've done a great job of making everyone understand what we do and what our issue is, right? Now the challenge is really just to keep that message going.
Momentum.
Momentum is a great word for that. All right, so we're going to push until the end of the session. And as I'm learning now, maybe even after the end of the formal session. Rules have changed, apparently.
Well, we can certainly, Margaret and I are here, and we're certainly happy to answer any questions.
That's what I was just going to say, right? I don't want to take up too much of your time. Let's hear from your questions. I'm sure you want to ask the reps a lot of questions about what's happening and what the options are going forward.
Does anyone have questions? Yes.
Did you say before that the first filing was in '92?
Oh, no, 100, I'm sorry, did I say that? I misspoke, it's 192nd session, so would that be in 2022. 22, the 192nd.
And so how many times has it been passed over or?
Yeah.
So, was it 2018? All right, there you go. Sorry.
We lost a few years over
The pandemic is like this whole black hole of that I swirl around.
That really happened.
Yeah. So what happened was, so I filed it in the 192nd session. And we actually had a great dialogue with the then chair of the committee of AITIC. And but the Senate wasn't persuaded. And so we let the bill go to study. And we were like, we'll be right back with you. And then it was the following session, the 193rd, where we filed it. And we had a great dialogue, and we actually worked out some language. And we got our first positive, our first favorable report out of the committee, which is a huge win thanks to all of you. And hopefully you all remember that hearing because there were a ton of questions. And the testimony was just one amazing story after another. You all really stepped up in that moment, and you persuaded chair, and we got a favorable report. We ran out of time because it came out so late. We ran out of time, And so what we did is we took that compromise language and we built on the success that you had achieved to keep going. And so we refiled that compromise language this session, and this time we got a pretty quick favorable report because you'd done the work, they understood the bill, they recognized the language, and now what our challenge is to pull it forward for an actual vote out of House Ways and Means and Senate Ways and Means. And so when David refers to the changing rules, what he's really talking about was the process to get out of committee, which is technical. So the Senate just popped it out really quickly to the Senate side, and then the House had a different evaluation process, and we met with the chair, et cetera, and then it came out within the original 90 days that the House had, and they put it forward with a favorable report. So it just is technical stuff that we do inside the building. But the point is that you actually have momentum, because everyone gets it, everyone understands it, and they've been hearing from you, so they see the need. So when I was saying it was timely, it's relevant, and it's been well vetted. That's the standard. But now what you have to do is keep it going and pull it forward. And we're just competing against like 7,000 other bills. So that's the thing, that's our universe. So what it really is about the relationship building, follow through, keep the momentum going, and make sure you're in constant contact with those legislative offices so that they remember that they need you. I'll just tell you as a legislator, walking here from my office to this meeting, I encountered 3 different people that I didn't write down. Harrison, I am sorry, but that's the thing it's like as soon as you talk to the next person, sometimes if you don't write it down, which is why I carry the book, is you have to keep it going, and so it's a continual relationship. Here's the other thing I'll just say to you. So it's great. You should have a relationship with your legislators. We want to come on your shows. We want to avail ourselves of your services. And you should know us. You should say hello to us. You should see us in the community. You should stop by our office hours. Get to know the aides. Because at the end of the day, Harrison is going to debrief with me around 4:30 this afternoon, and he's going to tell me who he talked to and what important things I need to do. And he's going to help me with the follow-up, and he's going to have all of the knowledge, all of the information, all of the why, and we're going to talk about our strategy, how to support things. So don't forget the aides, because they are our partners in public service, and they are hugely important to getting these things done. And they talk to each other, and they talk to people in committees. So they are tremendously important. So if you swing by my office hours and get Harrison, be grateful, because he's got the most up-to-date information. So just to keep that up.
And can I just quickly say, for perspective, and I did not know this, I'm finishing my 2nd term. My 1st term, it's like, oh, all these bills, and they're just, most of them are going through, right? There are very few bills, and they are very specific, and they've already had background work that would ever make it through on their first time filing in a general court. So it's not like, oh, we're on our 3rd term, something's going really wrong. It's sort of the process. The first time it's like, hey, what's this? Let's talk about it and start unpacking it a little bit. It moves this far along, and then the 2nd time around, it's like, oh yeah, we saw that last time. Here are a few things we might need to change, and it's getting further along. And now we're in the 3rd time, so it could really be the right time to get it across the finish line because of the urgency of it and because it has been vetted. So
yep. And we're updating the Mass General laws. That should be intentionally and thoughtfully done, no matter what we're talking about. So
yes.
Other questions? Great question. Hi.
Hi. We have Representative Giannino and Senator Crichton. I believe they're aware of it, but I want to ask an optimistic question.
Sure, please. You have great legislators.
So let's say it does pass.
Yes.
This board forms. How long would it be before it would be implemented?
Yeah, that's always a great question. So once a bill is passed and signed by the governor, it's 90 days before it goes into effect. there would have to be probably some rulemaking and regulatory and setting up of the board. Most of the people are designated by their office, and keep in mind, the bill can still shift and shape and change, right? So you have to adapt to those things. But usually, I think you can see that within a year. I think this one actually, because we're aligning it with an existing structure, an existing infrastructure, I think you really could see it come pretty quickly. One of the things that changed in the language that we compromised on was, instead of just setting a 5% consistent with cable franchises, is a board to do the research and say, what is the market? What will the market bear? Is it 4%? Is that really what it is? So that it could go up, it could go down, but
And
that.
it's in addition to the cable current one as it goes down?
Well, so it would set it. Cable would still be negotiated, but it would be set. So, my expectation would be is that you have to treat everyone the same, fairly and equitably. So what I think you're going to find is, what's everyone negotiating, and then what is that consistent? And then I think what you would probably see is everything shift to, what is the average and what should it be? So. I think there will be it'll be interesting to see how they handle that, but I think usually it takes about a year to get into there. But
If it passes, everyone can tell the board as well.
that's right, it'd be very exciting. Where it's just a held town meeting and they just put it through for, the transfer into the account. So we do have Senator Lovely's bill also in mind to pair with this as well, so that it just comes in. And that you don't have to actually wait for town meeting to take further action, because they can't do anything with it. It really can just come in, and that's how it used to happen. So we also have Senator Lovely's bill in mind, and we thank her for her advocacy and on behalf of all of the community media centers as well. So yeah, other questions?
You mentioned that opposition was coming primarily from cable companies and internet providers. Is this emerging as a partisan issue in any way? And also, what arguments might we face beyond it's going to cost money?
Right.
And then finally, has the governor said anything around this issue?
So it is not a partisan issue. In fact, before Rep. Scarsdale came into the legislature, this was co-filed with Rep. Matt Muraturi, Republican from Plymouth. And in fact, the original language, I remember we referenced Rep. Vieira is also a Republican, who filed the House 106 with the original language, because he just didn't know. He wanted to make sure it was preserved as an option. So it is not a partisan issue at all. Really, the opposition comes down to money, right? These are companies, and we want them to be successful. We want them to make money, but they really do owe us that accord to invest in the infrastructure and the way that we have always relied on. And that's why we chose this mechanism. We could just do a sales tax, but I don't think anyone wants new taxes, and then we can't control that money. Because we're creating a nexus, and that's the important piece, is that this is money for an important public purpose, and that's the nexus. I have not asked the governor about this at all, so I'm really not sure what she or her team would have to say about that, but,
The lieutenant governor is aware of it.
Oh, the
Yes.
lieutenant governor's aware of
Well,
it.
Lindsay Toghill is here. Hi, Lindsay.
Yeah.
And Lindsay is our lobbyist, and she had an event at O'Neill and Associates that she encouraged me to attend with the lieutenant governor, who I kind of have a relationship with. I'm from Salem. She's the former mayor of Salem, so we get to talk every now and again. Sometimes I see her at Planet Fitness doing her thing. You know what I mean? But she is very well aware of the bill. She understands the issue, and she is a supporter
Former
for
mayor.
what it's worth.
She understands, yeah. So, yeah. So great. Anybody else? No?
Yeah, to return to that matter of the that board to research what the assessment fee would be, I'm curious. As I understood it, the language is that it would be reassessed every year. Is that
Yes.
correct? And I guess I'm curious, would that potentially create any concerns for it being a less than ideally stable fee, or yeah, how would it be? Would we kind of be battling every year to keep that up and not go down to 0.5%, or what would the protections on that be like?
Yeah. No, I think it's a great question, and it was part of the dialogue that we had with them as opposed to a flat fee. I think the downside, right, is what you're saying is we just want to know, right? We just want to know what's reliable. I think the upside to it is that it's going to always be in the realm of consistency of where it had been before. And I think that what the opportunity is that if anything dramatically changes, it could be reflective of the times, of what really should be. And I think once you task a board like that with a responsibility of creating a stable funding stream that municipalities can rely on, I think everyone understands that it's not supposed to change dramatically. But I will just say, it also will require paying attention, but you have mass access to keep an eye on that. You have a lobbyist to help you have those conversations. But as with the municipal government, you all know this well, is that we create certain precedents and expectations, and every year that it stays the same. So I think that board would also have to follow all of those precedent-setting decisions. And you would see that they would be tracking, what are the revenues? Is it enough? I mean, that's what they're going to be looking at, is the data that justifies it. That's, I think, what the other benefit is. Right now, it's just a sum, it's a fee, and everyone says, well, it's too high. And I was like, well, maybe it is, but as cable companies were losing, right, their clients to the streaming services, they were increasing their cost. They were increasing their fees. So 5% of what was a little bill before is now 5% of a bigger bill, as they're trying to stabilize their own revenues as they're losing their customers. So what we're saying is, let's follow those customers, and then it will all settle back down to 5% of a smaller amount and a stable amount. Because the universe of customers is the same. And I think that was what we were really trying to demonstrate. So I think there's a lot of history around what the revenues have been, what the subscriptions have been, and what they now need to be. And I do think that it's fair to say you have all taken the first steps of making your operations more efficient, right? You can say that. I mean, you can say that is when we were starting to lose this money, we were making things more efficient. And I think the other thing you can also say and point to is that there's been private fundraising. And so as you've expanded your missions and you've done more, the innovation, what was the conference you took me to, David?
It was the Alliance for Community Media.
Yes, the Alliance was a fantastic conference, and what I heard about was innovation. And so I think that is something that will all play in your favor. But your point is very well taken, but it's adaptable too, and I think that's the important piece is we always get there and it's like, oh, 5%, it needs to be 6%. And then you have to spend another 6 years trying to get it through legislature. So I think that was the point, was to give it some flexibility.
Thank you.
Yes?
Just to clarify, it's 5% of the basic subscription.
Yes.
Okay, because if it's 5% of what I pay, it's a lot more than 5% of the basic. So if it moves, who's moving that? It's Comcast.
Right.
So if they up the basic subscription, the 5% to us goes up. If they lower it,
right,
it takes 5% away from us.
right, yeah.
I mean, that's important to understand.
Right.
It's just the basic subscription. It's not, Nesson isn't involved, ESPN isn't involved, all of those cats aren't involved. It's just the local news, right?
Well, but now Nesson would be involved.
In the streaming platform.
Right, because they're the streaming platforms, and that's what we're really doing is capturing all of those streaming platforms.
Yeah.
As people let go of their basic cable subscription, because they're all in their YouTube or whatever streaming platforms. I mean, you can watch town meeting on YouTube, right? So, and I think that's the important piece to notice is that cable franchises, I don't know if they'll disappear altogether, but people are really excited about new technology, and the bill is meant to reflect whatever new technology comes down, the things I can't even imagine could possibly come, but that's a great point. So,
And I think that's why the DOR study in 2024 was so important because it demonstrated
Right.
that it is not going to be this windfall of
No.
funding that our opponents were saying that it was going to be for us.
Right.
You know? And we're not looking to get rich. We're not in this business to get rich, right? We're just looking to maintain. We don't want to cut the services that we've been offering for decades.
Yeah, and at the time when people are really calling for more services
Right.
from you. So just remember, stable revenue source. So, but that was a great question.
It's from the $9.99 when I first
Oh,
signed.
yeah.
All right, we don't need to talk about how old some of us are. Do you all feel comfortable going out and talking to these legislative offices? Okay, good. And then just remember, if you get a question you can't answer, it is okay to say, I don't know, but I will research that for you. I'll talk to the reps and we'll get the answer for you and we'll get right back to you and be glad for that opportunity because that's another moment of engagement. And then you follow up again and say, I sent you that information. Did you understand it? Was it clear? Should I have Rep Meschino, Rep Scarsdale call you? So it's really about the relationship building and you guys are great at that. So go get them.
There was a question.
Oh, sorry, one more.
Karen.
Just kind of along those lines, you were talking about contacting our reps, and I know that we start to feel like we're sending a message saying, okay, so now can you please co-sponsor this new number, and then a little while later, okay, switch, and now can you please co-sponsor this
Don't worry
number?
about that.
But I think it's important for us to know, those of us who are in local access and don't experience the legislative process, that I'm hoping all y'all are hoping to get,
that's
like,
good.
you expect those messages.
Yes.
It's not like you think, oh God, they're bugging me again, and the number has
No,
changed. Like,
no.
That's the way it works.
That's the way it
And
works.
it's good for us to know, because people feel like, I can't possibly
No,
ask
no,
them again.
that is the way it works. It absolutely is. We get tons of information, tons of messages from people following through on us. Honestly, the way our office looks at it is that you're the ambassador on this topic. You need to tell me when I need to take action. You need to keep me up to date on how it's going, what the latest information is, and please, please, please tell me when I need to do something and what it is I need to do. I'm going to use the budget process. You all know the House just voted its budget at the end of April, and Margaret and I filed an amendment at the suggestion of Ways and Means. We filed an amendment to the budget process, thinking it could be an outside section, a good vehicle, right? Municipal revenues, right? It fits in the scope. And what we did was, knowing perfectly well that we need that budget to be final, to go to the Senate, to be negotiated and in place by June 30th, they really didn't include a lot of policy outside sections like this because they wanted a streamlined bill. But that said, we use that as an opportunity to go to all of our legislators and say, will you sign on and show support? It's a way of showing support so that when Ways and Means went through it, they're like, oh, Scarsdale and Meschino got 50 people to sign on. There's support for this. We need to put a pin in it and come back to it. And that's what we do, is we use it. And as soon as the budget was done, poor Harrison had to call and bug Ways and Means and just say, can we get some time to talk to you about all the support and the ongoing and how do we get this across the finish line? So everything you say in the building, every conversation with the aide, with the rep, with the senator is a prelude to a negotiation. And it all builds together as part of our plan to advocate and get it across the finish line. Most likely, so we'll follow kind of a couple of different themes. The House doesn't like to do small bills. So what we'll do is we'll be pressing to just bring it forward as it is. And we have a couple of ideas what could come forward with it, including Senator Lovely's bill. But what we'll do is probably drop it into Margaret, what is it? Yes, thank you. EcoDev, Economic Development Bond Bill will come forward at some point, and that's a good mechanism for this as well. So we'll be advocating to bring it forward as is. We'll be looking for opportunities to put it into a larger vehicle, and we'll be doing all that between now and July 31st. So are you guys in?
Yes.
Oh, come on. I need a yes, I need a hallelujah. Come on. All right, what do we need to do?
So when we go to our legislators this afternoon, meet with their staff.
And they will be
legislators.
excited to see you.
Yes. When we go there, what are we asking them?
We are asking them to send a note to the Speaker's office, to Ways and Means, and to bring this forward. That would like to see this get voted into law, to bring it forward for a vote. That's what we're asking for. And now's the time to do that, so that we can get into the queue for bills that will come forward. There's only, what are we, May? So we have, what, 2, 6, what do we have, 10, 11 weeks left? We only have 11 weeks. We only have 11 weeks left. Go get them. So that's the thing, is you have to get into the queue. And that's what we're trying to do right now, is get into the queue to be brought forward for a vote.
Yeah, and if they're not in, because, it's a little bit of a slow time since we just finished the budget, leave a note. Leave something with the receptionist in that area. If the whole thing is closed, slip a note under the door, go home, send them an email.
Call. We like phone calls.
Call, that's right.
Because you
yeah.
guys are happy. You're happy people. So you're looking for the
This is a
positive and the
great
opportunity. Those are nice calls to get, right, Harrison?
Yes.
Those are appreciated phone calls. And no legislator wants to miss out on something that's coming forward with positive momentum. And your positive momentum, this is a good bill. This is a nice bill. This is a positive, constructive, helpful bill. So, yeah. So.
Can you remind us of like numbers, so they know exactly what bill we're talking about?
So
H91.
it's H91,
So
and
if you're like me and you need notes,
Yeah.
we have them.
oh,
So that's
cool. Yeah.
Please stop by the
Yeah.
city.
Because I was going to say the Senate bill has a new number. I don't know why.
2556.
2556. Yeah, 2556. So yeah, and so Margaret and I will be around. Our aides are around. But yeah, get your fact sheets and yeah, go knock some doors. And
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Can I bother you for a moment?
Yes, sir.
Sir?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was a great question. Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. It's a great point where it's, leave some room for concern, but also a lot of opportunities.